You can't keep working here. Just like that, his words hit like a slamming door. He looked at the cafe as if it disgusted him. You're almost 60. 58, I corrected. And I'm fine. I saw something in his face, a crack. That fake guilt fell off, like a mask. What is it you want? I looked at him. This man in front of me didn't feel like my son. A share of the sale. He blinked. Let out an awkward laugh. That's not going to happen. We already made an offer on a house in the Hollywood Hills. That's not my problem. His face darkened. Yes, it is. If you want to keep seeing your granddaughter, or have any contact with us. Us? I raised an eyebrow. His threat hung in the air, dirty and direct. My own son, using my love for Lily as emotional blackmail. Are you telling me that if I don't give in, you'll take my granddaughter away from me? He had the decency to look ashamed, barely. But he didn't stop. Families should support each other. Lauren and I have a plan. And you're in the way. In the way? When I paid for your college? When I took care of Lily every weekend so you and Lauren could have time? When I signed the house over to your name, and kept paying, so you could save up for that boat? His face turned red. That's not fair. Exactly, I replied. It's not. I stood up. My break was over. I tied the apron with hands that trembled, a little. Mom, please, his voice broke, we need this house. It's perfect. We can't lose it. For a second. I saw the little boy who used to run to me with scraped knees and tears in his eyes. But that boy was gone. Now there was a man, who used me as a bridge to get somewhere else. I'll think about it, I said. But first, I want something in writing. From you and Lauren. See you tomorrow. Mark Jensen's office. 2:00. The tension disappeared from his shoulders. Thanks, Mom. You won't regret this. As he walked away. I wondered if I wasn't already regretting it. I arrived early at the lawyer's office. My stomach, in knots. I hadn't slept at all. I spent the night replaying the decision, over and over, in my head. Ryan and Lauren arrived on time. Dressed like they were pitching to investors. Lauren's smile was forced, but satisfied. Mark greeted them in a professional tone. Thanks for coming. Evelyn has been considering your request regarding the house on Maple Avenue. Lauren jumped in. We really appreciate it. We're confident we'll reach a mutually beneficial agreement. Mark slid a document toward them. This is what Evelyn proposes. Ryan took it. Started reading. His face, hope. Confusion. Rage. All in seconds. What is this? My condition, I said calmly. I'll keep paying the mortgage. But the house is sold to me. Not a third party. Lauren snatched the paper. Ridiculous. You want to buy the house from us for what's left on the mortgage? It's worth triple that. It's worth every cent I put into it, I replied. 35 years of payments. Repairs. Improvements. Ryan was red, like a stoplight. You can't do this. Legally it's ours. Mark raised his hand. The mortgage complicates any attempt to sell. A lot. Lauren crossed her arms. Cold. Hard. We'll fight this. We'll hire a lawyer. I nodded. I expected that. You can try. But the process will be long. Months, maybe years. Your credit will keep dropping. And that house in Hollywood Hills, someone else will buy it. They were counting on a quick sale. They had gone over budget. And now, they were trapped. Did you plan this from the beginning? Ryan whispered. Since you moved us into the garage? No, I answered softly. I just stopped letting myself be used. Lauren stood up. We need to talk in private. They left. Mark looked at me. You're doing the right thing, Evelyn. I wanted to believe him. But Ryan's eyes, that look of betrayal, still hurt. Had I become as cold as them? The door opened. They returned. Serious. Resigned. We accept your offer, Ryan said in a low voice. But I hope you know what this means for our relationship. I looked at him, directly. I know. And I hope that one day you understand what it meant when you left my bags on the sidewalk. I know. And I hope that someday you understand what it meant when you left my suitcases on the sidewalk. That was the last thing I said to Ryan that day. The night I returned to my house. I couldn't sleep. I walked from room to room, touching the walls, looking at the door frames, as if they were speaking to me. There was the mark with Ryan's height, each year a little higher. There, the kitchen, where Henry and I danced on our 30th anniversary. 3 months had passed since that afternoon in Mark's office. 3 months of paperwork, signatures, tense goodbyes, silence. Ryan and Lauren packed, reluctantly. We didn't exchange many words. I was trying to rebuild. To reclaim something that had been mine. But the house felt different. As if it didn't recognize me. Lauren had painted everything in cold tones. Whites. Grays. All the warmth, the soft yellows, the tender blues Henry and I had chosen, were gone. The kitchen had new appliances, the fancy kind that don't seem to live. That have no soul. But the bones of the house were still there. The third step that creaked. The way the light came in through the arched window in the afternoon. The slight slope in the hallway, that Henry could never fix. I stood in what had been our bedroom. There was no furniture anymore, just Martha's bed, the one she lent me. This room, where he took his last breath. It felt sacred. I'm home, I whispered. And the silence that answered me wasn't loneliness. It was calm. For the first time in a long time. I was where I was supposed to be. The next morning, the doorbell rang, while I was putting away my old dishes. I opened, and there was Martha, my neighbor and best friend, with a pot of soup and a bottle of wine. Housewarming party, she announced, walking straight into the kitchen. Although I guess it's more of a coming back party. I laughed. It feels like both, actually. Martha set everything down on the counter and looked around. My God. What did that woman do to your oak cabinets? She painted them gray. Changed the handles for something called brushed nickel, I explained. Oak isn't in style, they say, I added, without much enthusiasm. Martha pursed her lips. You know what's really out of style? Kicking your mother-in-law out of her house. We both laughed. But the pain was hiding behind that laughter. Have you heard from them? She asked, as she helped me unpack. I shook my head. Since they signed, Ryan and Lauren haven't called me. Haven't written. Nothing. They made it clear, they chose the house, over me. That's not what happened, Martha said firmly. You chose dignity. That's not the same. Maybe she was right. Maybe not. But I had already made my decision. Being invisible wasn't an option anymore. To new beginnings, Martha said, opening the bottle. We toasted. And I felt something different. Gratitude. For having someone who was there, when my own blood wasn't. The following weeks began to find a rhythm. Mornings, working at Café Brisa. Afternoons, restoring the house. Adding little touches to make it mine again. I couldn't get rid of all of Lauren's modern furniture. But I could add color. Put up family photos. Hang Henry's fishing rods in the study. It was little by little. But it was mine. One Saturday, while I was planting tulips in the front yard, a car parked. My heart jumped. Ryan got out. He looked nervous. Uncomfortable. The flowers look nice. I nodded. I couldn't speak. Dad always liked tulips, he said, looking around. I remember he used to plant them every fall. I wiped the dirt from my hands. What are you doing here? He rubbed his hands. Looked at the ground. We couldn't buy the house in Hollywood Hills. I wasn't surprised. Their credit was probably in shambles after all this. I'm sorry, I said. And I meant it. Despite everything. We found a condo. Small. But I think it gave us some perspective. I waited. I knew there was more. Lauren's pregnant again, he said. Twins. Due in January. Congratulations. I didn't know if it was news meant to hurt me. To remind me of what I no longer had. Ryan looked at me. For the first time, directly in the eyes. Lily asks about you. She doesn't understand why she doesn't see you anymore. That comment hit me hard. Like a silent blow. She's always welcome here, I replied. You are too. He nodded. Then hesitated. Mom. I've been thinking about all this. I froze. I didn't want to get my hopes up. I'm not saying we handled it well, he continued. But, you chose the house over the family. I don't know if that's forgivable. My heart dropped. No. He still didn't get it. I didn't choose the house, I said, slowly. I chose not to disappear. He frowned. Clearly didn't agree. Anyway. I thought you should know about the babies. And maybe Lily could visit sometimes. If that's okay. It wasn't an apology. Not even close. But it was something. A door, slightly open. A crack in the wall. I'd like that, I said, as he left. I sat on the swing. Trying to process what had just happened. My relationship with Ryan was broken. Maybe forever. He couldn't see how much he had hurt me. How deeply he had betrayed what we were. But he came. Even if, with empty hands. It's not an ending. But it's a beginning. That night, Martha and her husband Jim came over. So did Rosa from the cafe, and Mark, with his wife. We sat on my patio. The same patio where I once celebrated Ryan's graduation. Where Henry and I danced. Where I lived. The sunset wrapped around us. Conversations flowed. My chosen family. A toast, said Martha, raising her glass. To Evelyn. For reminding us that it's never too late to start over. We raised our glasses. We smiled. That night, alone again. I sat on the porch. I looked at the stars. Listened to the sounds of this house, the creaks, the echoes. I thought of Henry. Of Ryan. Of the woman I've become. Stronger. More determined. No longer letting anyone erase me. This house isn't just bricks. It's a testimony. That I'm still here. That I'm myself again. That toast. That night. Those warm voices around me, they reminded me of who I was. And when they left, I stayed alone once again on the porch, tracing constellations with my eyes. Listening to how the house breathed at night. It groaned and whispered, as if it remembered everything. Henry. Ryan. And this version of me that I barely recognized, stronger, clearer. No longer willing to disappear for the comfort of others. This house wasn't just bricks. It was proof. I had found myself again. Where are you seeing this story from? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to know how far this has reached. It was a quiet Saturday morning. I was in the front yard, on my knees in the dirt, planting tulip bulbs, Henry's favorites, when a familiar car pulled into the driveway. My heart jumped into my throat. Ryan stepped out of the car. He looked uncomfortable. Like he didn't fit in his own skin. He stayed near the edge of the garden, as if the ground beneath him were shaking. "The flowers look nice," he said. I nodded. My voice wouldn't come out. "Dad always liked tulips," he added, looking around. "I remember he planted them every fall." I stood up slowly, wiping my hands with a rag. "What brings you here, Ryan?" He shifted, nervously. "We couldn't buy the house in Hollywood Hills." I wasn't surprised. With everything about the mortgage, their credit must have been pretty damaged. "I'm sorry," I said. And I meant it. Despite everything. He looked at his shoes, expensive loafers, now dusted with garden soil. "We found a condo. It's small, but I think it's taught us some humility." I waited. I knew there was more. "Lauren's pregnant again," he finally said. "We're expecting twins. They'll be born in January." "Congratulations," I said quietly, wondering if he said it with joy, or to hurt me. Then, for the first time, he looked me in the eyes. "Lily asks about you. She doesn't understand why we don't visit you anymore." My heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. "I miss her," I whispered. "She's always welcome here." "You are too." He nodded. Then, hesitated. "Mom. I've been thinking about everything that happened." I held my breath. "I'm not saying we handled it well," he continued, speaking slowly, choosing each word carefully. "But you chose the house over family. I don't know if I can forgive that." The little spark of hope that had lit went out. He still didn't understand. "I didn't choose the house," I replied in barely a whisper. "I chose not to disappear. There's a difference." He frowned. He didn't agree, but said nothing. "I just thought you should know about the babies," he added. "And maybe Lily could come visit you, sometimes. If that's okay." It wasn't an apology. Not even close. But it was something. A small crack in the wall between us. "I'd like that," I said as he left. I stayed on the porch swing for a long time, letting the silence wrap around me. My son, my only son, was broken in a way I couldn't fix. Maybe never. He still couldn't see what he had done, not really. But today, he came. He reached out. Even if it was barely. And that was a beginning. Not a resolution. But a first step. That night, the porch lights glowed warmly, as laughter filled the yard. Martha and her husband Jim came by. Rosa from the cafe brought a cake. And Mark arrived, with his wife and a bottle of wine. We gathered in the backyard, the same one where we celebrated Ryan's graduation. Where Henry and I danced under paper lanterns. Where life unfolded, in all its chaos and beauty. The sun slipped behind the trees. Twilight brought soft conversations, floating through the summer air. "A toast to Evelyn," Martha declared, raising her glass. "For reminding us it's never too late to reclaim your life." We clinked glasses. Everyone smiling toward me. Later, when the stars came out to conquer the sky, I sat alone again on the porch, listening to the creaks of the house. The steps, the hallway, many would say those sounds were signs of age. To me, they were life. They were home. I thought of Henry. Of the life we built. Of the son we raised, and who lost his way. I thought of myself. Of who I'd become in these months. No longer small. No longer silent. No longer available for the convenience of others. Whole. This house wasn't just walls. It was a monument. To survival. To strength. To the quiet power of a woman who finally learned to choose herself. I had returned. Not just to this house. But to my own life. And if you've ever felt like you had to erase yourself to fit into someone else's story, maybe this is your sign. For the first time in a long time. I felt like my life belonged to me. Completely. Without conditions. Without asking for permission. I am Evelyn. And if you're listening to this, I just ask you to take a deep breath, for a second. Not to pity me, but to think about yourself. About that corner where maybe you, too, were pushed. About that space where you erased yourself, to please, to fit in, to avoid bothering anyone. My story is not about an older woman betrayed by her family. No. My story is a silent scream that finally found its voice. It's a wake-up call. To reclaim that place they pushed you out of, with smiles, with excuses, with indifference. For many years, I swallowed words, for fear of breaking the family. I swallowed the exhaustion, the contempt, the absences. I stayed quiet, so everything would work. Until one day, I saw my suitcases there. On the sidewalk. As if I were garbage. A note. A garage. And that's when I knew. If I didn't do something for myself, I would disappear. Not physically. But little by little. Like when they take pieces of you, and you don't even notice until there's nothing left. That day, I didn't choose a house. I chose to stop being invisible. I am no longer Ryan's mom. I am no longer Henry's wife. I am no longer the one who watches Lily on weekends. I'm Evelyn. I have a name. A story. And yes, I have wounds. But also, a heart that won't give up. Have you ever gone through something like this? Did you walk away? Did you stay silent, when you most needed to scream? Did you endure things that broke you inside, just to keep the peace? I get it. But I also want you to understand something. Sacrificing yourself is not the same as disappearing. Loving does not mean letting others walk all over you. And a family without respect isn't a home. It's just shared blood. I'm not telling you this so you'll say how brave you are. I'm telling you because I want you to know that you can too. Yes, you. No matter your age. Your past. Whether you live in a small, humble house, or a mansion, you can say, this isn't enough. I deserve more. No one, hear me clearly, no one has the right to put you in the garage of life. To silence you. To hide you. Just because you love them too much. And now I ask you. What would you do, if you came home and found your bags outside? Have you ever been made to feel like you no longer belonged? Have they pushed you aside, with the excuse that it was for your own good? Tell me. In the comments. I want to hear your story. Because your voice matters too. Maybe you're seeing this from Mexico City. Or from a tiny town in the mountains. Maybe you're in New York, Madrid, Lima, or a place I've never heard of. It doesn't matter. Because if you're here, if this touches something in you, then this story is yours too. I'm Evelyn. I was pushed to the edge. And I came back to the center. Not because I wasn't afraid. But because I understood that if I didn't choose myself, I would have nothing to leave Lily. Except the lesson that silence doesn't protect you, it erases you. And if you're ready, let me help you write your first chapter. But if not yet, keep these words. Keep them until the day you look in the mirror and ask yourself, when did I start living for others, and not for me? And on that day, I want you to remember this. I stood up. And you can too.